What's going on, guys? Kalamazi here. I'm back from the race world first, and I want to make a video today talking about Warlock and Forge Omega in Mythic Plus, talking about the performance in those places, some bugs which we need to look at, just a general update on the state of Warlock heading into, I guess, week 3 or so of the patch. I know it's been a few days since I made a few weeks since I made a video or whatever. The race consumed a lot of time, but I'm home now. The race is great. Liquid won, barely, but they won, and yeah, I want to get this all rolling for y'all. Now, I do want to do a brief overview, I guess recap for y'all, looking at heroic and mythic logs, more so mythic when we get into like the meat of this here, and then look at mythic plus a little bit as well. I know there are a handful of websites you can use for M plus data and all that. I'm just going to use logs that are on, or runs that are on Warcraft logs, all that, talk about the specs and this and that and everything else, because honestly, locks like not meta in M plus, but all 3 specs are decent, which is pretty crazy. Hasn't been that way for a long time. I digress. We're going to look at the raid first. So Forge Omega on heroic without like a class filter or anything. There are a handful of Warlocks mixed in on like Lumathar, 1 Demo on Soulbinder, some Araz. Soul Hunters is a massive Destro boss, unsurprisingly. Fractalist, Nexus King, and Dementia. It's not a whole lot of lock activity here. Also, it is day 1 of the 3% raid buff coming in, so things might be a little skewed regardless for some people that got the buff beforehand, raided tonight and all that. But I do want to filter by Warlock. Now, going into the tier, we thought that we'd see a lot of Destruction and Demonology. I would almost lean towards playing more Demo than Destro. However, that ended up not really totally being the case. So, now, we didn't really say much AF, maybe besides Soul Hunters and possibly Dementius for damage amps. Didn't really need it either way. But if we're looking through on heroic parses here, filtering by just Warlock in general, Sentinel, Destro. Soulbinder's a weird one with some Destro play. A little bit of Demo play too, playing more of an AoE-based build with Faharg, stuff like that. A little bit of AF here as well. Hellcaller, however, I have seen Soul Harvester doing pretty well on Mythic here. Forge Weaver, mostly Destro stuff. Demo here is crazy, but hey, let's do it to it. Soul Hunters being Destro, Fractalist being mostly Destro with a little bit of Demo mixed in. Demo's bugged in this fight, so it's Destro technically, but we'll go from there in a minute, talk about it in a minute. Nexus King being Destro, and Dementius basically being Destro. So, if you would ask me at the start of the raid tier, what we assume would be, you know, the best like, go-to spec in the raid, I probably would have said Demonology over Destro, but they're both pretty close in overall, like, participation. Give or take. I assume Sentinel will be more of a Demo boss. Definitely Destro here. Soulbinder, more Demo, which I think Demonology is still pretty good in this fight. Araz is more Destro. Soul Hunters, Destro AF. Fractalist, we assume more Demo. Nexus King, I assumed a bit of Demonology as well, but sort of a toss-up because honestly all 3 specs fit pretty well here. And Dimensions, we didn't really know, honestly. But a lot of Destro representation here. And just to clarify, like Destro is not that far behind. I don't know how up-to-date these sims are. Probably relatively recent, but it's not that far behind Demonology at all. Demonology has that weird, I mean, I don't even want to call it weird, but I feel like every tier, based on whatever Demonology sims, it's just not always like up to par with where it sims. Obviously, damage profiles change things a good bit. For example, like Lumathar, Araz, Soul Hunters, the big Havoc Cleave profile, much better on those fights from a progression angle and a, you know, overall damage angle, right? But regardless, a bit more Destro than we thought. Shifting gears to Mythic here, honestly, it's pretty similar. Sentinel, a lot of Destro here. Lumathar, Destro. You play Destro in Prague here. On farm, I mean, obviously it's whatever. Isn't that bad of a boss with more gear coming in. It makes killing walls a lot easier, and the boss is in Rage, much easier to beat. But either way, a lot of Destro here. Soulbinder, Demonology, and Destro. I'd assume in the long run, Demo's better here. But I will say, I am a little surprised Affliction is not seeing more play, I guess, and or ranks here on Soulbinder. Let me see if the highest AF parse overall is here. So if we go Warlock, just filter by Affliction, there is a decent bit of them. However, there's a mix of Soul Harvester and Hellcaller here. The highest AF parse is 7 million, highest Demo is 8.6. However, Soul Harvester number 1 is bugged in a good way. Maybe not bugged. Sorry, it's probably undervalued in Sims, not bugged, but it's actually better than it may seem damage-wise. I was talking about it a bit with Magni. I'll probably make a video on it in a couple days as well. So that's, you know, a bit of a nod to Soul Harvester there. But at the same time, this fight has 2-minute damage windows where adds are spawning every 2 minutes, give or take. Lesser adds every, you know, half a minute or so. Every 2 minutes, you have that really strong Rapture damage profile with Dark Lair, Soul Rot, all that. And it's very similar to Reverb, Rick Reverb, or Vexy, the bosses in the last raid, Undermine, where you can get that big cleave profile with CDs. It's very good. Hellcaller is number 1 here, but at the same time, a lot of Soul Harvester are right below it. So if you're looking at playing out from this fight, I would say consider both. Honestly, I think the higher end Soul Harvester is probably better, but depends on your guild and have a faster killing things. But regardless, though, I think all 3 are good in this fight, but I would give a nod currently to Demo, either way. Forge Weaver is a Destro fight. I mean, like, even with the nerfs that came into this fight, it is like the first, I guess, boss you need to like progress for like guilds that are working on, bosses 5, 6 right now, for a little bit. Pylon Cleave, very important. Killing Echoes, very important. I wouldn't be surprised to see more AF at some point in this fight as well. The longer it goes on. Even Demonology seems fine with like stat cleave on the Arcane adds, the manifestations. But regardless, now I think you're looking at likely as playing, or you are playing Destro in this fight in a prog setting. Soul Hunters is mostly Destro. There are some recent AF parses popping up. I believe Magnify played this recently as well. The highest Destro parse is basically 10 million DPS. Pretty insane. Highest AF, if we can sort by that. Let's see here. Anyway, in the rankings in general. Yeah, there we go. 8.1 million. But it's Magni who is playing Hellcaller. Obviously, great player, all that. But if there are more Destro or more AF like polls out there in general, you might see a bit more representation here. But both are good in this fight. However, as Destruction, if you're playing Havoc and rolling Havoc, there's actually only AF parse, which is crazy. Not to be more. As Destro, if you're playing Havoc, or I guess Mayhem, and rolling Havoc, there are times you can just high roll this fight and chain rolling Havoc for an eternity. It's very similar to Krog Grim Totem back in the day, just other fights in general where we've played Havoc and rolling Havoc. And if you high roll rolling Havoc stacks, you can just gap the raid, gap Warlocks in your raid. I have no idea where his stacks are, but we can take a look. You see his Mayhem uptime was 60%. This is absurd. 85% rolling Havoc uptime. That is disgusting. But this is this fight. There's permanent targets. If you like, you can maybe even game rolling Havoc or Mayhem a little bit based on what you're casting and stuff, to like try and fish for procs and chain effects. But dude, this chain here for a minute of max rolling Havoc stacks is disgusting. Destro is this fight. And there's that. Fractalus is a weird one. So we haven't killed Nexus King or Dementius on Mythic yet. Like publicly, there are no logs for that, obviously. There's Destro on this and Destro on this, but Fractalus is a weird one. Magni put up a rank 10 today. 3 PIs, but PIs, just how it is, later it goes. So when it comes to Fractalus, when we get to the bugs, we'll talk about this in a minute here as well. Demonology is bugged on this fight. I believe Malakath was talking about it. I don't think it's changed or anything yet. Dogs don't Dreadlash or Dreadbite, whatever, in this fight. They don't Dreadbite as often, something along those lines. I haven't looked at it a whole lot, but we've seen it on fights in the past where there's weird terrain. I think Sanguine Depths was one of them. When you're fighting the lady like in the little cage area, like little like pit area, dogs wouldn't Dreadlash there. I think Spires of Ascension was one maybe. Weird like terrain. Dogs don't. Not Dreadlash, but Dreadbite. I believe that's the case that's happening here. At the same time, there's another bug for Destro on every fight. But when it comes to Fractalus, it's even more interesting because it basically happens. I can't really replicate it here super easily, but it basically happens whenever you proc a Infernal Bolt. I believe whenever an Incinerate is traveling towards your target. If an Incinerate, I think is traveling towards your target when you proc an Infernal Bolt, which is like the Big Mommy replaces Incinerate with Infernal Bolt and gives you shards and all that. It will basically remove the Infernal Bolt procs. You don't get Infernal Bolts at all. You don't get the shard gen. It sort of like munches the proc. If the Incinerate, is traveling and hits your target, whenever Infernal Bolt procs. We see it more often on Fractalus because the boss, you're typically playing sort of far back for the walls. At the same time, I believe your Incinerate and just spells in general, like travel to the boss, like this is Fractalus, and they go like up into his body, like way up here. So there's a lot of travel time with spells being cast. So you see it on Fractalus more often unless you're playing in melee compared to like a Raz or whatever else. So both those specs are bugged. I think the bug is more impactful when it comes to Demonology and dogs not Dreadbiting in this fight, but regardless, it's still mostly a Destro fight. I wouldn't be surprised to see AF popping up more if you're looking at this fight from like a Destro POV, I mean, 5.2, highest AF is Magni at 5 million, which is pretty solid, honestly. Might even play this tomorrow night in Raid, we'll see what happens. And the highest emo parse is like 4.7, 4.9 actually, which is not terrible. This is a kill from tonight, so this is with the 3% aura buff, but honestly, it's not that far behind. But if you're playing Demo in this fight, know that it has been bugged. I believe it's still bugged. At the same time, if you're losing random Infernal Bolts, Big Mommy is also bugged still. So yeah. So I guess to just summarize this in like a raid section, Destro definitely is seeing more play in the raid than we thought. We thought it would see a decent bit of play. It's seeing even more play. If you're looking at every boss from like a mythic angle, honestly, if you filter by this and go into the raid, it's basically all Destro. There's some Demo on Soulbinder. Both specs are fine here. Honestly, Diabolist in this fight, even when it comes to like having those 2-minute, like, you know, large AoE piles and such, it's just throwing Chaos Bolts because of how strong Chaos Bolt is and your funnel damage and all that. Your pets do a lot of AoE in general, from Diabolist, Big Mommy, Fell Lord, Pit Lord, Ruinations, all this stuff. Destro feels like the most rounded spec in the raid, just based on how it is with the Chaos Bolt buffs that came in. The tier set just passively functions in AoE as well as single target. You can bring a lot of Chaos Bolt funnel and have your Diabolist demons, Pit Lord, Big Mommy, Overlord, whatever his name is, also throwing Ruinations, all that kind of stuff, AoEing, just meat grinding things down, and bringing a lot of raw Chaos Bolt damage. So that's basically it. If you're looking at playing a spec in the raid, I mean, picking up Lock or whatever, I'd say Destro is probably your best bet. But yeah, so TLDR, it's Destro. Also, to clarify, if you're playing with Shadowburn, people have been asking me this a lot. If you're playing with Shadowburn, the best single target build plays a point over here in DFI, I believe, but you're playing Shadowburn basically everywhere, even in single target for mobility. It's okay to cast Shadowburn on the move if you have anything else to cast, but you're not casting Shadowburn on cooldown in single target anymore. The buffs to Chaos Bolt made it much better to cast Bolt in single target. You can cast Shadowburn on the move if you have nothing else to cast, but make sure you are not chomping a Demonic Art effect, which is basically somewhere in here. It's this. Touch of Rancor, a Demonic Art. Increase the damage of Chaos Bolt, Rain of Fire, or Shadowburn by 100%. You want to use this on Chaos Bolt, not Rain of Fire or Shadowburn. So if you're running around and have a Shadowburn at the ready, but this is cute as well, just take the L. Don't throw a Shadowburn into Demonic Art. So that's that. As far as M+ is concerned, there are a lot of sites you can look at to see what's doing the best for Warlock, all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to look at Warcraft logs here. Some are actually logs, some aren't. It's fine. I want to look at different builds here and talk about just, well, what's seeing play, right? So if you go Warlock here, S3 stuff and all that, I've been saying for a while, I think on the higher end, Destro is still the best spec in M+. I think where Demonology landed, like post changes and all that, it's good consistent damage. It's sort of like how BM Hunter is. It's just consistent damage. You've got cooldowns every pack and all that. But if you're going on the high end, Destro, like the last few patches, is still going to be your best option. And when you're pulling around the Infernal, you're playing Hellcaller, some are even playing Diabolist. This build here, the Diabolist like Chaos Bolt funnel build, is actually really good. Similar to the raid, you're basically launching a bunch of Chaos Bolts. It's really good funnel damage, but like your pets, Mother of Chaos, Pit Lord, Overlord, Ruinations, Overlord Cleaving, does a lot of your AoE. Your tier set also carries AoE as well, with eyeballs exploding and all that. Whenever you cast Chaos Bolts, keep in mind, when you spend shards, you generate an eyeball. So launching a Chaos Bolt passively either generates another eyeball or launches them in AoE. Whenever you spend shards, Diabolic Ritual time is reduced, and it summons more pets in. It's a cycle of just a lot of potential funnel damage playing this build, launching Chaos Bolts in like these, you know, decent sized pack pulls, all that, but bringing a lot of funnel damage and having a lot of passive AoE built in. Most are playing Reign of Chaos. I've seen some playing Crashing Chaos, but I feel like Reign of Chaos is your best bet playing Diabolist for the most part. But regardless, though, there's a mix of Destro, Demo, and AF being played in a lot of keys. Looking up here, I mean, like, you've got mostly Destro and Demo and Arcora. I've seen a couple AF. Lunarstormers playing it, Halls of Atonement. If you haven't played AF this season, AF honestly feels pretty good. It's basically all Hellcaller stuff. Soul Harvester's not terrible, but it's basically all Hellcaller stuff. It's solid. It's very good. If you played Affliction with Liberation of Undermine's tier set, he's playing the new set here, but if you played the old set, it feels exceptionally good when you can proc multiple unstable afflictions, all being buffed by Focus Malignancy and all that. And that's the reason, that and how it was performing in the raid with the old tier set is the reason that Affliction got that 3% aura nerf, which was totally unwarranted during the race. I'm assuming they're going to buff AF at some point with class tuning, obviously, because it tanked into the toilet with the nerf coming in, and realistically, people getting current tier. But regardless, though, if you're looking at playing AF or Demo or Destro, all three specs are seeing play when it comes to Mythic Plus. This is more on the higher end and all that, but if you're an AF enjoyer, AF is more than fine. AF's honestly pretty strong now in M+. Like Dawnbreaker, for example, he's playing both Destro and AF here. Sorry, when it comes to like general mid-tier keys though, plus 10s, plus 12s, 13s, whatever, when you're trying to like get your 12 resills or get your weeklies done, I think Demonology is likely your best bet. But I do want to experiment more with the Diabolist Destro build, because honestly, like if this build is as good as it seemed in like recent, I've been looking at things recently, I played it like a little bit off stream tonight, honestly, it sort of cranks. And in places like Streets or whatever, where you're getting a bit more or wanting a bit more like single target-esque prio damage, it looks really strong. And with that profile, it could even be good when it comes to like mid-tier keys and all that. But if you're looking to play a spec in plus, TLDR, Destro I think is overall still the best in the high end. Pulling around the Infernal, Hellcaller is still exceptionally strong. The tier set feeds into Hellcaller even more, which makes it even better. Demonology is still great in mid-tier pug keys, even like higher, it's fine. AF's good too. Certain places good in Priory. I mean, it's honestly good everywhere we can get mass AoE, and even like in maybe a bit less mass AoE keys, it's still pretty solid too. So it's basically that. Once again, there are bugs currently when it comes to Mother of Chaos's bug for Destro with Incinerate travel time when you proc an Infernal Bolt. Dogs aren't biting. I don't think they're dread biting on, or as off or something like that, on Fractalus. Oh, and Soul Harvester AF is also, how do I phrase this? I'll have a video on this coming out in a couple days as well, maybe like on Friday. Soul Harvester AF is essentially under simming. I'm not sure by how much. Magnify found a bunch of stuff on it, made a post as well. It's under simming a little bit. You're basically getting more succulent soul, like shard procs, than what sims are, like, I guess, programmed to do in game. We're not sure if it's a bug or if it's intended, but either way, there's some weird things happening with it. So I want to make a video on that in a couple days, get to that, explain it from there. But honestly, like TLDR, if you're looking to play a Warlock, it's a pretty good tier to play a Warlock. Yeah. Also, yeah, those AF nerfs were totally needed though, right? Totally needed, right? Thanks for watching, guys. Wraps it up. Hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully it helped catch you up a little bit on Warlock stuff in this patch. I'm sorry that I didn't make a lot of videos during the Race World first. Definitely a bit busier this time with the race than it was like last race. I wanted to squeeze in some boss kills and all that, but honestly, I figured we had to get home, start making some more videos and stuff. Locke did good this raid, though. Locke is performing well this raid. As far as class tuning is concerned, they might come in and maybe nerf Destro a little bit, but honestly, I don't really totally think so. And if they do, man, Demonology is right behind it still. Demo's still good. Buff AF. But yeah, so we'll see where it goes. But hopefully help clarify a little bit for y'all on like state of lock and M+ and rating and all that, and you know, go from there. And if you guys want any weak auras or add-ons or profiles, links to my website as well as Twitch, all that up here. So down below in the description, Discord, yada yada, all for free for you guys. The website has been updated with the most recent talent builds, boss builds, all that stuff. Talent builds for each spec yesterday. The spreadsheet has been as well. I put a note in the spreadsheet though. It's going to be the last spreadsheet update of like this patch. Spreadsheet's obviously a thing during PTR for the first month or so of the patch, but I tend to shift towards the website being the main source to update around this time in the patch, give or take, just due to like, well, honestly, ease of updates, because updating things twice is a pain. But yeah, there's that. So, but thanks for watching, guys. I want to thank all my patrons for all support. For all the support on Patreon, guys. Thank y'all a million times. Like always, I greatly appreciate it. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon, also link up here, as well as down below in the description. Fingers crossed that Warlock doesn't really get hit. If there's any recent or any tuning coming in over the next few days. Destro's good on some fights for sure. On some other fights, like Dementius, even like Nexus King, it's fine, but not incredibly insane. There are some really good Destro Cleave fights this tier. And honestly, I feel like, barring a couple classes being just not the best, obviously so many buffs and stuff, class tuning is like relatively close this tier in an interesting way. There's a lot of really strong classes, which is sort of cool. A lot of mages in the Race World first, a lot of Ellie Shamans, a lot of Warlocks, decent bit of DKs, some underperformers need to be brought up a little bit, but yeah, Affliction. but we'll see where it goes. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, hit the like and sub buttons below. Helps out a ton. I'll catch y'all again soon on stream. Peace.